Americans living in rural Mississippi are increasingly finding that it's difficult to find a hospital that can meet their needs as more hospitals are shutting down due to Republican lawmakers in that state refusing to expand Medicaid through federal subsidies. Now, under the Affordable Care Act, the federal government provides pretty significant subsidies to expand statewide Medicaid to individuals who live below 138% of the poverty line. Okay, so this started in 2014. A bunch of red states are like, no, we're not gonna take the federal money. We're not gonna expand our Medicaid services to ensure that everyone has healthcare coverage. Well, that comes at a significant cost. And by the way, what the Affordable Care Act would do was provide 90% of the funding necessary to do the Medicaid expansion. The state would just have to chip in 10%. Now, Mississippi and 9 other states have refused to take advantage of that expansion to help their residents. And it is having a disastrous effect because keep in mind, if you become ill, if you become injured and you need to go to the hospital can't reject you simply because you don't have insurance. So the hospital will provide the care, and since the individual is uninsured and does not have the money to pay for the services, the hospital ends up eating the costs. And that has destroyed the ability for hospitals to stay open in places like rural Mississippi. States that opted against Medicaid expansion or had just recently adopted it accounted for nearly 3/4 of rural hospital closures between 2010 and 2021, according to the American Hospital Association. And it gets even worse. I'll give you some more insane statistics on this in just a moment. Cenk, why don't you jump in?
I haven't seen a Republican politician try to help the average American in any way, shape, or form in 20 years, at a minimum. I haven't seen one proposal where they go, this would help the average American. Okay, this would help them with healthcare or childcare or food or jobs or wages, nothing. All it is, well, how can we punish the average guy to help our corporate donors? Okay, here, the federal government's giving you 90% of the money, just take it. Nope, our philosophy is if it's someone who is working poor or middle class, we should crush them. So are you proud of this? You're a Republican, you're proud of this. Like why? Like the idea is, oh yeah, they're bums. Why are they bums? A lot of them are working poor, a lot of them are middle class, why are they bums?
They're the people who voted for you.
Yeah,
and
And tons of them are Republicans who voted for you.
It's Mississippi.
Yeah,
rural Mississippi.
Mississippi is one of the poorest states. It's often in the bottom 2 poorest states.
Yep.
Yet they're monster Republican governors. Like, yeah, I don't care. I'm gonna score political points by hitting the poor in the face. Congratulations, corporate goon.
Okay, so I'm gonna interject. It's a little bit of a tangent, but do you get what I mean when? If we could just put the insults aside for a second and just have a conversation with voters where they don't feel like they're being judged or talked down to, do you think the majority of them know that the state has refused, like Republican lawmakers in the state have refused to expand Medicaid and that they're losing their hospitals as a result of that?
No, of course, tons of them don't know. And who do I blame for that?
The media.
The mainstream media. Because right-wing media lies to them as a matter of course, we know that, right? But mainstream media doesn't tell you, oh no, the reason you're not getting these benefits is because of the Republican governor. Because that would be offensive to Republicans. That would be offensive to powerful people. Oh, how can we get access to him so he'll come on Face the Nation?
Right.
Who gives a damn? Why don't you be honest with and look guys, this is personal to me. Anna makes a great point here. Look, we get sucked into culture wars because the right wing does crazy stuff that we have to respond to and defend, right? But in my book that I wrote a while back, right? I talk about how I'm a victim. I was a Republican growing up because mainstream media lied to me. They told me the Republicans were great, lovely people. And then I found out way later they did the Southern strategy, which said, hey, you know what? We're gonna go try to get those voters who were left over from the civil rights era, who didn't want black people to have civil rights, didn't want any minorities to have civil rights. Well, I wouldn't have been a Republican if I knew they were gonna take away my rights, but mainstream media will not tell you how terrible Republican politicians are under penalty of law, asterisk, unless it's Donald Trump.
So let's get to some specifics in regard to Mississippi and the impact it's had on the hospitals and local communities there. So they've actually lost 4 hospitals since 2008, and they expect to lose more. So the New York Times, one of the examples of them doing really great reporting here, statewide, experts say that no more than a few of Mississippi's 100+ hospitals are operating at a profit. Free care is costing them about $600 million a year, the hospitals, right? Because again, if you're not insured and you can't pay for the service, the hospital can't turn you away. They just have to eat the cost. So that's the equivalent, by the way, of 8% to 10% of their operating costs, a higher share than almost anywhere else in the nation, according to the State Hospital Association. At Greenwood Leflore, I don't know if I'm saying that correctly, hospital, for example, the I.C.U. and maternity ward have had to shut down as a result of this issue, right? So at this point, there's only a single ward that remains open and operational at the hospital. So the hospital lost $17 million last year alone and is down to a few million in cash reserves, said Gary Marchand, the hospital's interim chief executive. We're going away, he said, it's happening. And expanding Medicaid would allow about $1.35 billion a year in federal funds to flow to the hospitals and healthcare providers in Mississippi. But people like Tate Reeves, no, can't have it, not interested in it. In fact, I want to jump ahead and go to what Tate Reeves has to say about all of this, including the refusal to accept the federal aid to expand Medicaid.
We are all frustrated and worried by the threats that some hospitals may close. I urge the legislature to think outside the box when it comes to improving Mississippi's healthcare system. Don't simply cave under the pressure of Democrats and their allies in the media who are pushing for the expansion of Obamacare, welfare, and socialized medicine. Instead, seek innovative free market solutions that disrupt traditional healthcare delivery models, increase competition, and lead to better health outcomes for our fellow Mississippians. You have my word that if you stand up to the left's push for endless government-run healthcare, I will stand with you.
Your constituents are literally dying as hospitals shut down in your state over this BS argument about the free market. Let the free market work its magic. Okay, let's talk about the free market working its magic in healthcare in the state of Mississippi right now. Right now, the hospitals are shutting down. That's the free market, Tate Reeves, you're proud of that? Let me give you more. Here is Dr. John Lucas, who works at the hospital that we referenced earlier. I can tell you, I have a number of patients who are on dialysis with renal failure for the rest of their lives because they couldn't afford the medication for their blood pressure, and that caused their kidneys to go bad. Dialysis, my mom went through it, it is torture. It is torture, and that could have been prevented if they had the health coverage, the Medicaid expansion to provide the care that they need, the medications that they need to treat whatever illness they have, whatever hypertension or high blood pressure they're dealing with in this particular case. The fact that it's so hard on some days to not curse on this show, it really is. But the fact that that guy stood there and bragged about free market solutions as his constituents are dying without healthcare coverage is so incredibly disgusting. And that is what, look, you wanna win against Republicans, you focus on this garbage, okay? You focus on this garbage because I guarantee you, left, right, doesn't matter what your political affiliation is. When it's abundantly clear to voters, and yes, including voters in the Republican Party, that their representatives don't give a damn about them and delight in their deaths like this, maybe they'll reconsider who they're voting for. Maybe, we'll see.
So I'm gonna blame one other set of folks, and that's Democrats. And I'm gonna explain why in a second. But first, to Anna's point about free market solutions, but wait a minute, a hospital shutting down because it's not profitable is a free market event. That's what do you want them to do? Like keep losing money? Because of what, patriotism? What do you, that's not even a free market. What are you talking about? What he's saying makes no logical sense. And he says, it'll lead to better solutions. But you're doing it now in Mississippi, and it hasn't led to better solutions. It's led to miserable solutions that is causing death and destruction in your own state. And he's like, let's think outside the box. No, how about we think inside the box? You accept Medicaid and you save all those lives.
That pig, okay, sat there in an interview after Roe v. Wade was overturned to talk about, oh no, maybe there shouldn't even be exceptions when it comes to rape, because I care about human lives so much. He said that with a straight face as hospitals are shutting down in his state because of what he did, because of his unwillingness to accept Medicaid expansion. You're garbage, you don't care about human lives. It's just so obvious. That's why every time I hear a right-winger talk about, oh, we just care about the lives of zygotes and embryos so much, they don't care about any of it. They just care about punishing and controlling women. That is it, that is it, that's all they care about. In the meantime, their constituents are dying because of their actions and their unwillingness to provide health coverage for their constituents. I just can't with, go ahead.
So, okay. That's why I blame media and Democrats. So let me explain. So in this case, the New York Times, great job, great story. So wait, why am I blaming media? Because they're always one and done. They never remember the stories they themselves wrote. They'll go back today to writing about how Tate Reeves, a wonderful guy, just an honorable politician having legitimate debates. Come on, you guys don't know that the free market solutions that he's talking about is what led to this mess in the first place? You can't tell simple things, but to be fair to the media, look, in this case, the New York Times did their job. They tell you what the reality is. So now why do I blame Democrats? Because Democrats, you're supposed to take these facts and you're supposed to oppose the Republicans. Have you ever seen any Democrat as pissed about it as Anna just was? Ever.
Because Democrats don't want to do a damn thing to make healthcare better in the country, so they stay the hell away from these types of topics. That's why every attack coming from the Democratic Party, for the most part, is them just engaging in the culture war stuff. Because the culture war stuff doesn't upset their corporate donors at all, right? Yeah. And that's not to minimize the culture war stuff, but it does accomplish two things. It prevents any disdain from corporate donors, and it also pits all of us against each other. So we're constantly fighting each other as our healthcare continues to basically destroy the lives of Americans all across the country, as wages continue to not even remain stagnant. I mean, wages haven't kept up with inflation forever, but it's even worse now with inflation being what it is. And they don't care about any of that stuff, right? And we don't have those conversations. We don't hear it from Democratic leadership. We might hear it from a freshman progressive for maybe a year or two, and then they get sucked in by the establishment blob, and they start talking about their beloved colleagues, as Cenk mentions all the time, because it's true. It's true. That is how the system works. And in my opinion, the only way to fight back is to build a broad coalition, an organized coalition of Americans who demand better. But we're too busy fighting each other, right? We gotta fight each other. We're on Twitter all day. We're sniping people who agree with us on 99% of issues. Okay, great. It's working out so well for us. Let's keep going in that direction, I guess.
Last thing, why don't Democrats fight back? So for example, they could say any of the things Anna just said, that would get a lot of press attention in Mississippi, and it might get people to go, hey, wait a minute, why is the governor against the Republican voters who are also dying from this lack of funding, et cetera? The reason the Democrats don't do that is because they don't want universal health care either, because they're also paid off by the insurance companies, the drug companies, et cetera. So they take the things that are winning issues and they choose not to fight on winning ground. They choose to fight on the culture war issues, which they know they're gonna battle to a tie where we all hate each other, and we never focus on the fact that the insurance companies are killing us. They're literally killing us every single year, and they are aided and abetted by Republicans and yes, Democrats like Joe Biden, who is definitely against universal health care, also a monster. You'll never see that in media. Oh, Biden calling him a monster, how dare you? He's against universal health care. He does not mind tens of thousands of people dying every single year because they couldn't pay the ransom to health insurance companies. Don't believe the establishment, they're full of crap. Thanks for watching The Young Turks, really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR, so those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.